Hi, I'm Pat Lynch Barrett, and you're at Women's Radio 2. And this is actually our expanded site to include our expanded vision, which is to reach as many cultural creatives as possible. You're one of them. And now we also want to meet up with a lot of great guys, which is one of the reasons we're doing this program, this ongoing program with Christine Baumgartner on relationships. And today we're going to have something a little more interesting about how wardrobes communicate, men to women, women to men, et cetera, et cetera. What does it say? How do you know, if it's going to communicate the right thing? What's your point of view, et cetera, et cetera. Christine is going to do most of the talking.
You always add very interesting interjections, Pat, for sure.
Well, it's just it occurs to me once in a while. But
Yeah.
I am so excited to hear this because I know that it's coming from your experience and all the people that you work with. So it'll be a very, very interesting point of view. So take it away, Christine.
Thanks, Pat. It's always a pleasure to talk about how we can miscommunicate in so many ways, and sometimes we miscommunicate without any words. We miscommunicate with what we're wearing. So now with Snapchat and TikTok and YouTube and so many places where people think they get an impression about you in seconds, it's not even minutes anymore. I think it's about 10 seconds. People can make some sort of an idea up about who you are, whether it has any basis in reality. They think that. So why not? You heard the thing where it says put your best foot forward. Yes, and who you are. Put who you are forward. So my conversation today is not necessarily to have you change what you're doing, just be conscious about what you're doing and what possible reactions there could be. So one of the things I hear a lot in the dating arena is, doesn't anybody know how to take a shower, press their clothes, and clean their nails? And it's interesting how often women mostly say that about the men that show up. And if you give people the benefit of the doubt, I mean, there was one guy that he came and he was a little ruffled and rumpled and did have some grease on his hands. And he said, I got a flat tire on the way and I had to change my tire. I didn't want to wait for AAA because I was going to be late, and I didn't want to stop and call because I was going to be late. And so I'm just going to go tidy up as much as I can. But I was changing my tire, where because of that 10-second rule, when he came in all rumpled and he went to shake my hand and I was like, ooh, but to know there was a really good reason. He wasn't that he didn't take a shower. It wasn't that he didn't care, because that's what we women think. Does he not care enough about coming out and meeting me to at least take a shower and not have wrinkled clothes? Maybe, and good to know if they really don't care. I had a friend who's passed away. Her husband passed away first, but he was a multimillionaire. And when you met him, you would have never known. He was in rumpled jeans and not always a not tidy t-shirt and scuffed boots, because it was how he was comfortable. It's how he spent his days. And yet he had so much money. So that's not always wise either, to just decide that who they are. And certainly you need to decide what's comfortable for you. If you're somebody that takes 3 showers a day, it would be really good to find out, is the other person as fastidious as you? If you're somebody who likes everything put away, find out if that's how they live, or could you live with somebody that wasn't? So find out, ask questions, see what's going on in their life without being judgmental right away. The other thing that women get really upset about, the famous lines of, my eyes are up here, because the man is looking sometimes at their chest. Now, if you're wearing something modest and you're very endowed, they'll glance. I accept that it's part of who they are. My goal is to have them not stare. I really would like them to look in my eyes. So my goal is to not encourage that. So if I wear something that's a little more modest, I mean, I thought about that when I was wearing this. I mean, it's not up to my neck, but it's not showing even cleavage at this moment. So if I'm going to show cleavage, I'm going to expect they're going to look and not get upset about it, because
Right.
I know I'm showing cleavage. And the conversation about, well, everybody's chest is a chest. No, they nourish men when they're babies. And then we make this big deal about covering them up because we're generally a modest society. So if everybody's taught that from the beginning, I like that I don't show them to everybody. I like that only people have to earn the right to see me naked. But I don't automatically think they're a bad person because they look, especially if I'm wearing something that has some cleavage showing. So depending on where you're going and what you're doing, both men and women, and what kind of an impression, given they're human beings, because we go, well, I'm going to wear something low cut and they're bad people if they look. Well, I think you're setting both of you up for possible failure. Don't you think? I mean, you do you, hon. My frustration is when you complain that this outcome that's pretty normal for good guys that aren't perverts, and you want them not to act that way. But I want women to say, if I want somebody not to stare at my chest, I'm going to dress modestly. But we want to have all this freedom. Well, then you have freedom. People are going to really complain about this, right? Freedom to get the reactions that you do. Yeah, there's men that do catcalls inappropriately. Yeah, there's men that stare inappropriately. But then you say, stop. And if they don't stop, if you're out on a date and a man keeps staring at your chest and you're not showing a bunch of boob and he doesn't stop, then leave. You're done. What's the point of hanging out with somebody who you said, I would like you not to stare at my chest. I need you to look at my face, because you've done all you can to not encourage it. You really do need to be proactive, ladies. And the guys need to proactive to not stare. But if for some reason he's that kind of guy that can't not stare, then he's not your guy. If you don't like staring at your chest, then leave. Please leave. Excuse yourself to the bathroom and walk out the door. And if you're at all concerned, have somebody that works at the establishment walk you to your car and leave. Don't put up with it ever. But you give them the benefit of the doubt and say don't. So when you go to work, and now things are so casual that if people treat you casually and you're really frustrated that why don't they take me seriously? Why do they treat me like I don't have a brain? Piece, just a piece might be, if you think about, are you wearing something that makes you look professional? People can't see your insides right away. They see your outsides. We do the same thing. Everybody's making some sort of a judgment about people. I mean, I can't tell you how many people judged my friend's husband, just who he was and who they thought he was when he was so not that. So don't be judgmental, because it's very ugly to be judgmental right away. You can move into judgmental when you have evidence, but gather the evidence first. So it's interesting. Somebody was telling me the other day that she had a very important job and men treated her with such respect. And now she's not getting the same respect when she's dating. She hasn't become a client yet, but we'll see. Because I said, well, how are you approaching them? And what kind of conversations are you encouraging? And do you change the conversation? And how are you dressing? That was really a hot button for her. Well, how am I supposed to dress when I'm going out dancing? If you're not getting the treatment you want, either it might be how you are dressing, it might be the places that you're going to. I mean, it's not all them. There's not just a place where there's only crass guys. There's nice guys and crass guys and everywhere in between, everywhere you go. So if you're only getting guys that treat you disrespectfully or like you don't have a brain, which is really smart, then change the place, change how you're asking questions. I recently learned, and I don't think I knew it before. Did you know that Marilyn Monroe's IQ was 165?
No, I didn't.
She was brilliant. She had a huge library at her house and she'd read every book and they were very diverse. She read scientific books. Who knew that, right?
Yeah, I
That
didn't know that.
wasn't her goal in life to have people think she was smart. Her goal in life was to be a sex pot, to be a cute little bombshell. It earned her lots of money. I'm not sure how happy she really was, but it was her goal. Her goal was not to show people how smart she was, but it turns out she was really, really smart. So if you are smart and you want people to treat you like you're smart, then you need to put forward the smart. You need to dress in a way that gives people a chance to learn about who you are first. And then if you want to dress more provocatively when now they already know you're smart. I mean, I love dressing sexy for the guy in my life who already knows I'm smart. But I'm not going to start out thinking he's going to think I'm brilliant if I come in something cut up to here and down to there. He's going to have trouble concentrating on my brains if he's concentrating on my cleavage and my leg, which is okay, but not what I want on the first couple dates or on an interview or at work. So I think it's really helpful for people to think consciously, what's my responsibility for the reaction that I'm getting from people? I think it's 50-50. People can be crappy or they can be lovely and they could treat you in a way that it looks like that's how you want to be treated, or it seems like that's who you are. And to reconfirm, that's not who I am. You misunderstood, or wow, somehow we miscommunicated. Let me tell you who I really am. I like having intellectual conversations. I really do. I'm okay with banter, but I don't want to do that right now. Could we just have kind of a smart conversation? Say that out loud. It's so shocking when I tell people, talk about who you are, talk about what you'd like, and see, are they a willing partner to come meet you there? Or no, they don't want to talk about that. Well, then they might not be your person, certainly not for long term. What do you think, Miss Pat? You're taking
I
it in, I
agree.
can tell.
I try and put out a what?
You try to put out what?
I try and give hints in kind of conversations
Yeah.
that I know something about this subject, or I know something about this subject that I like, or whatever, to see if they'll pick up on it and then expand on that. I
And
know
what
my
happens
current
when you do
line,
that?
a lot of them are, they're thankful that they've gotten someone that has a brain, I think.
It's so,
Yeah. And
and
sometimes they have to think because everybody doesn't agree with every point of view. I do try not to bring up anything political for sure, but I don't mind bringing up things that are deeper. And if they can't handle it, I'd rather know sooner than later. I'm not looking to offend them, but I just want to know if they can go close to where I can go.
yeah,
Go
and I think
together.
it's really smart to say, gosh, I have this is something that's really important to me, and this is what I'm thinking about it, and I really want to hear your thoughts on it and see what they say.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of, some people are more bold and will just jump in. Some people have to kind of take little baby steps to see, did you really mean that when you said you wanted to really hear my opinion?
Mhm.
And men are very grateful when we show them who we are. Even if they don't like us or agree with us, they really appreciate hearing it. And less subtlety with men is really important. They appreciate it when we're direct. They really do, in a nice way. Direct in, wow, I really want to have this conversation, or wow, I really want to hear more about what you think about that. Instead of, we women understand subtlety and innuendo really well with each other. We speak that way. It's our second language. It's not as easy for men. They appreciate more the direct approach.
Again, that you can use probably the same example over and over again. Men go out and hunt. They don't have time for a lot of words. They're focused. And if they say something, you better believe it's probably pretty important. Like
Mm.
run, friend, or there's a buffalo coming towards you, or something dramatic, right? But talking about getting into a deep subject and so forth, and how you approach that, I remember when I met David, David would point this out to other people too. And so I thought, well, might as well get this out right away. And so I said, well, I just want to tell you right now that I meditate. And if that bothers you, you should know that up front. No, he says, my mother and I went to see the Maharishi and blah, blah, blah. And he told lots and lots of other people that first conversation.
See, that's what we do. This is who I am. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And then tell me who you are, and I'll tell you what I
Exactly.
think about it.
Well, I do have to ask you one little question. This has popped up in my mind 4 times while you've been talking. What do you think about men who almost their first question is, how old are you? And what do you think about a man asking about how old you are?
Huh. Well, I would love to know the context. Is there a specific context, or are you really talking more general?
This is pretty general, and uh, this is like first conversations on Facebook, or first conversations like you're talking back and forth, maybe just getting to know each other. But I
So
don't think your age should be one of the first things that you
in
ask.
a dating atmosphere,
Well,
sort of,
it isn't a business atmosphere.
right? Okay, more casual, not a business.
Casual, right?
So typically, when you're talking on places like that, often people do have their birthday or their age listed.
Yeah.
And I guess if somebody's thinking, gosh, is this somebody that I'd want to get to know better on a personal level? It might be good to know, are you within each other's whatever ranges? I mean, some people's range is really short, only a couple years on either side of what they are. I talked to somebody recently that doesn't go older at all. And or is it somebody who has a really wide range of people that or is it really far on younger and only a little bit older? So my guess would be they're finding out if you're within their range, and then if they're within your range. And there's
But they don't
nothing
offer
better.
I haven't seen men that offer the information first. And I mean, I wasn't raised like that. You don't ask a woman her age, but that doesn't seem to be true anymore.
So you could ask them why. Gosh, I'll be happy to answer, but explain to me why. I'm curious why you want to know. And I think that will be the answer. I want to see if you're in the age range that I'm looking for, or if I'm in the age range you're looking for. And if we ask them, they would tell us, but we don't ask because we think it's impolite. They don't think it's impolite to be asked or to answer it. So if we jumped in and asked them first, they tell you. They're not going to just volunteer. We're not going to volunteer.
I just think that it's interesting that without disclosing information about themselves, they want to know, if you and then it just seems to cut off any other kind of conversation that you might have with them.
If somebody's overly concerned about age,
Hmm.
they're not concerned about who you are, how active you are, what's happening. They are not your person. I mean, if that's really the most important thing, because it's generally not the most important thing to me, because I have certainly met people in their 60s that can't keep up with me. And I've met one person so far in their 80s that I had to work to keep up with them. So I have so learned in my personal dating experience that there's across the board, age really is a number. I mean, there are some generalizations, and generally it's a number. So it's not an overly concerning thing for me, but if it is to them, because I don't know if I ever told you, when I was first divorced, I was in my 30s, and I think it was in my late 30s or maybe my early 40s. The first time this guy, I was chatting with him out dancing or something, and he was really into asking me out. And I said, and the conversation we'd had, I said, but it sounds like you date people that are really like in their late 20s and early 30s, because I look younger than my age. And he said, well, yeah. I said, then I am too old for you. If that's really your goal, if you want somebody that's in that age group, I wouldn't even ask why, because I don't care. And I don't have bad feelings about it, but I'm too old for you. And he laughed and said, yeah, you are. Because he thought I was younger. So age was important to him. The
Mhm.
and so I go, I didn't care, but it was good to get it out in the air, because if he wanted me to have less life experience or whatever it was, because I didn't ask, I was not in the mood to ask at that point in my life. Now I would have. I didn't care. I just
Mhm.
said, we are not each other's people. If this is if this is one of your high number things you have to have, I'm not it. And I don't want to be with somebody who wants somebody that much different than me. But I don't get all my feathers in a ruffle about it. But I would say, gosh, you go first. Tell me how old you are first, and then I'll tell you how old I am. I mean, if it makes you more comfortable to have them say, I mean, you could make a game out of it and see if they'll play, or if they're just set on, I won't date any, like I say, I won't date anybody that has a 5 in front of their age. I've tried enough times that they're just not grown up enough for me. I'm sure there might be somebody, I've not met them. They have to have a 6 or a 7. That really works for me. And I've had people like in there with 4s. I'm like, so, hon, you don't understand. I don't have kids, but I could have given birth to you. So it doesn't work for me. And it might work for them. Oh, I like older women. Great, go find somebody else, because it's not me. I want somebody in my generation. I want somebody that understands my jokes. I don't want to have to explain a bunch of stuff to them. I want somebody who's had more life experience than you've had. And you can't have more life experience because you haven't been on this earth as long as me. So I don't personally get annoyed by the question, but oh, I so understand the impolite part of it. I really do.
Mhm.
And I personally would ask, why? I'm so curious. What's the reason? And I will answer. You will answer. I encourage you to answer, because if he cares, he'll care. But ask first, why? And then first ask why, and then tell me yours. Okay, tell me yours with a nice smile in your voice, because otherwise we're going to just be snotty and mad and how crass of them to ask, right? Because that's our normal reaction. But it's it makes us mad at men. It makes us curl up instead of being open. Be open to going, yeah, not my guy. If he wants somebody younger than me, he's not my guy.
Well, here's what it says to me, that you never know who you're going to meet in life.
No.
You never know how deep they are, or how much they know about something that you might be very interested in, or how they like they may be really, really good in something you actually really eager to learn about,
Yeah.
but you're not going to get that chance because they're only interested in a number.
Yep.
And now, if that's because they want to have more kids or blah blah blah, yeah, I'm definitely not your person,
No.
not in any way. And but I think that it definitely cuts off any kind of intellectual conversation, any kind of in-depth conversation, to have to ask someone pretty much at the beginning of a conversation, how old are you?
If it's a priority to them and they can't think of anything else until they think about that, okay. They
Well,
might not be your person because that's a high priority to them, no matter if they liked your age or not.
yeah.
Everybody's got
Anyway,
their,
I thought I'd bring it up. I'm sure
oh,
you have other people talking about it.
oh, it's such a good question, Pat. It comes up all the time. Mostly women don't like the question at all.
Mhm.
I actually be one of those weird ones that I like being asked, because everybody's mouths drop when I tell them my age. It's just been my whole life since my 30s. When I was younger, I looked older, and then all of a sudden it switched, and now I look younger. So it's a fun game for me, and I really understand if it's not, and it isn't for most people. And because it's not on first blush an awful question for a man to ask, it's really not. And I know that's going to send the little hairs on the back of a lot of ladies' heads, because it's impolite and it's crass and it's nosy. And is that how they're just making their decision? They don't want to get to know the insight. Maybe not. Maybe not. It might be just, there's women who want to know what their bank accounts are. They want to know, do they want more kids, or mine is my deal breaker. Do they have minor kids at home? I mean, I have met
Yeah.
great guys, great guy. And I just went, I can't, I did it. It doesn't work. I so see why it doesn't work for me. And they're, oh, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't even get to know the more of you, because I so see what a great guy you're. I learned it doesn't work for me in
Mhm.
my life as it is at this point, maybe in another lifetime. And I know this. So if they say in their head, as unreasonable as it sounds, I don't want to date anybody outside these numbers. They're, and you are, they're not your person. And why get upset about it?
I know, I think, well, again, I think a lot of people, I'm one of those people, I hate to make a decision too quickly. I do like to get to know people. A lot of times I'm surprised, happily surprised about the things that they're very interested in that I would have had no clue about. Um, I, I can see ways in which I am, quote, judgmental, unquote, like, but that's okay for me, just like you're saying, because it's really important to me. And if it's just not a burning interest for them, it would be a real disconnect.
And
So,
look how they're being judgmental. So we're each being judgmental. And if both sides could just go, okay, ask me your hard question. I'll ask you my hard question. At least it's been hard for some people. And we get it out of the way and we both live through it. And we go, oh, okay, now I can still talk to you about other stuff. If everybody could just make an agreement to do that. I mean, even the
I like to get to
men.
know each other first, because no matter what, a person can be a good friend.
Yeah.
But not if their parameters are so narrow that you don't meet one or two early parameters, you have no chance of exploring what else there could be.
And would you want somebody in your life who's so narrow? I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's kind of
It tells you
they
right away.
judge it.
It's so not personal about you. This is what their requirements are minimally. And
Mhm.
what's fascinating to me is I've never in my 15 years of coaching matched up people in a romantic situation. I've matched up so many people professionally. Oh my gosh, because I find out what the heck they're doing in their
Oh,
lives. And I say, oh my gosh, I meet somebody 2 weeks later. And I go, you need to meet it. And I'm doing all these introductions all the
yeah,
time, both men together, women together, men and women together, never with anything personal, romantic in mind,
about business.
because I've gotten to know them, even though we weren't
Yes,
each other's romantic people. It was fascinating to get to know them as a person. So if you can get
yes,
past, yes, I have this rigid thing about romantic, but I don't have a rigid thing about being a friend. Okay, well then, do I like you well enough to be friends and hear about the rest of your life? That's the other hurdle to get over. But people are very quick to go with, like, politically, if we're not the same, or you voted for whoever or didn't vote for whoever, and I can never even talk to you ever again. It's a lot of hard things in our world right now that people are so rigid.
yes. Well, talking about referring people in business, I do that a lot too. Um, and I think it's interesting as you get to know people, even through business, that you may not have time or an opportunity to get to really know that person. Um, I I keep finding things out about people absolutely 100% not looking at one or two of these people I'm thinking about as a possible romantic partner or in any description like that, but only as a business. And yet I have missed some really important things.
Yeah.
So, like that they have family where I happen to be and they're going to come visit their family, right? That's interesting. And somehow that never came out in the conversation before, or that they are more deeply involved in an area that I'm really interested in, and they have that common interest, and we may have some mutual friends that we can share or help each other. So I'm almost always looking for opportunities, whether it's men or women, to see how I can connect them to other people with a common interest.
So being more open. So if we start with what's your first impression, if we go back to the title, what you're wearing, what they're wearing, and you go, huh, or ew, would you be available to at least have a conversation about what's going on with them in their life and maybe why they're dressed the way they are, or what other things they have going on that are interesting, and you could look past how they look. I mean, it's really would make our world a better place if we were a little more open and not so rigid about there's this thing, they have bad teeth, I can't
Really,
even talk to them.
make an effort to really be interested and learn about that person rather than saying, well, here's my list. Are you this? Are you this? Are you this? Are you this? Well, okay, goodbye.
Yeah,
I just, I
yeah,
don't like that kind of system, I
no,
guess you might
no,
say.
no. So I think this is very full of lots of information, and people could have some great opinions about this, don't you think?
I would hope, and I would hope that they would express them to us.
We would love to hear them.
That's right. We're really trying, and if anybody sees one of these and it does not have an email address, please let us know. There's always a way that you can reach us through the site, but specifically, you can email us at team@women-corp.com and give us your opinion. You know, you can comment on the things that Christina has already talked about, or you may have a question related to something we did talk about, or maybe not even related this time. But that you have a burning question you want to ask, do. It's gonna, you'll help all of us, actually.
I
So
think so. Thank you, Pat. It's always such a pleasure.
it is, and thank you for being here once again. I can't wait for the next time.
Me too.
Have
Bye for
a
now.
great week. Bye for now.